Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Happiness Discipline Podcast. I am your host, Sean Greenspan, and I am really, really excited to bring you guys today Dr. Greg Eckel. Last time I saw each other, we hugged probably 20 times in a 3-day span, always with our heads on the right, so our hearts touched each other. And it just shows you the attention to detail that he takes to make sure that his heart, brain, and spirit are in coherence. For those of you that maybe don't have the pleasure of knowing who Dr. Greg Eckel is, he is a naturopathic physician and a Chinese medicine practitioner specializing in regenerative therapies and neurological disease. We actually got acquainted because my grandfather passed away from Parkinson's, and I was introduced to him as, oh, he does Parkinson's, you should chat with him, right? Everyone kind of gets bucketed, especially based on symptoms, because, symptoms and diseases are how people relate to people healing. But what drew me to Dr. Greg is the holistic approach that he takes. I mean, he apologized for being a couple minutes late to this recording because somebody that was supposed to have 1 hour of his time, a patient, he gave them almost 2 hours of his time. And he said, the woman had MS since she was 13. What are you going to do? You need to do everything you can to heal her. And I see a man that is completely in alignment. And that's why I said, hey, Dr. Greg, I'd love to have you on my podcast, not to talk about all the groundbreaking things you're doing to do regenerative actions to the brain, but to talk about how you're someone who lives in integrity and is so happy all the time. So, Dr. Greg, I am really excited to talk about this because we've had a chance to go down this path a little bit, but not too much. And I want to start off and just ask you a simple question. When were you the happiest today so far?
Well, I think it was when I was sitting with the patient right before our recording, and it's humbling and really a big honor for someone to choose us for their health care. And we're talking about her health, and without your health, you don't really have anything, right? There's the old adage. The person with their health has 1,000 wishes, and the person without their health has but one. And I think I'm in my element. I like to say I specialize in difficult and recalcitrant conditions. And she kept asking me, like, am I the most complicated patient you have? And I've heard that over the last 25 years so many times. And while we want to be unique and the toughest of the tough, you don't really want that distinction in my practice, because we are seeing the folks that have been to Mayo and Cleveland and Vanderbilt, all of the specialty centers around the globe, or in at least North America, where they don't know what to do with you. And so I'm in my element, really sleuthing, detective work, really connecting. I spent time with her. We're looking eye to eye, kind of getting into that space of we're in this together. We're, arm in arm and finding a solution for her. And that piece of being in my purpose at the highest level, it brings me a great sense of happiness. Because it's like, wow, I kind of pinch myself some days of like, well, I get to do this every day. And this is what we've created. Coming up here, I stopped for a beverage in the staff room, and 2 of the staff members were in there, and I just had dinner. Our sound healer, Sue, introduced us to an author in town here, and I thanked her for the introduction, and she's like, I've got an orthopedic doc that needs to work at Be Vital. And another staff member, Holly, is a huge advocate for what we do here. And I just, I'm like, wow, they both thanked me, like, thanks for creating this amazing space for people to come to experience true healing. And, it's like, it brings tears to my eyes to think like, wow, this is really happening. This manifestation of these thoughts of myself and my wife, Kitty, of co-creating the space, and we're expanding and growing, and the word's getting out, and there's momentum, and, it really can happen like that. I like to say it's a 25-year overnight success, but it is, at that point in my career, it's like, wow, all of those decades of running the halls really are paying off because I've stayed true to the vessel, to my heart, to my, you mentioned integrity. Is like, yeah, you've got to be in alignment for things to really start flowing.
Yeah. I want to ask you something for people that maybe don't know. How would you describe what you guys are doing at Be Vital?
So we do frequency forward medicine. So what does that mean? We're bringing sound and light therapies that have a ton of research into regenerative stem cell therapeutics. So really, if I just boiled it down to, I'm giving human beings their power, agency, and waking them up to they're the creator. That, in essence, is what we're doing. Now, what that looks like in the day-to-day is we created the Eckel protocol for brain regeneration, specialty with helping folks with Parkinson's, but that protocol works for all neurodegeneration and brain health. And we treat people as heart-centered beings moving through time and space. So we're not having them, we're not pieces and parts, we're not reductionist medicine, we're seeing the totality of them, body, mind, spirit, and addressing that on all of the facets that we see fit. Yeah.
So a little different than people's doctor in conventional medicine. Your path took you through conventional medicine. How did you have this vision at some point that there was more to it, or like what was kind of the catalyst?
Yeah, I was a young 20-year-old in Portland, Oregon. I was a preschool teacher in the Montessori school, and so that's with 3 to 6-year-old children.
Yeah.
And I watched in the early 90s, it was the beginning of ADD, ADHD, and watching my poster child, Michael, who included others in his learning. He was a rambunctious dude, right? Like in everybody's business, and in Montessori classroom, the kids pick their work, and then the older kids teach the younger kids, and it's really dynamic. Awesome school educational system. But the beginning of ADD, main teacher advocated he needed to go to the pediatrician. He gets the diagnosis, put on Ritalin, 4 years old, comes in first day, slumped in his chair, shoes untied, and the glimmer in his eye was gone. And it was heartbreaking. It was like, man, we're drugging kids. Like, what is going on? At that same time, I was a young 20-year-old in Portland, Oregon, and a vegetarian, which I thought was very healthy, but I had no energy. And I had not really heard of naturopathic medicine before, but it was a free clinic, and I had no money as a preschool teacher, recent college grad. I went to the student clinic. They gave me a diet diary. I brought it back in. They called me a junk food vegetarian, which I was. It was frozen burritos, French fries, and beer, vegetarian. I thought it was very healthy. I had no energy. They gave me botanical medicine, changed my diet, and I felt better. I was like, all of these roads led me into naturopathic school. And so the rest is history from, I started there 96 to 2001. But that was a lot of different, it was the creative component, it was the natural approach. It made sense with my worldviews of subtle energetics at the time, still today. So that was really, I knew I wanted to be in service to people as well. If I went back to school, I kind of got disillusioned by the white ivory tower of academia with lots of pontification and up in the head, but there wasn't anything kind of in the heart for me in the academic realm. That's kind of why I got into preschool teaching. I was like trying to get inspired again of the mystery and the awe. And man, children really do that.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wanted to go down a rabbit hole talking about where your energy was at throughout this journey. And, because a lot of times people see you now and they're like, oh, it must have been so easy. You just followed the path versus like, no, I had no idea this stuff was going to happen. But I want to talk about the awe. What does the word awe mean to you?
Awe, like awesome, being in
Mhm.
awe, the mystery, magic. These are just being in like the vastness of our reality.
Mm,
Is it puts me into an awed state.
yeah.
I can be in awe of the human body, of just the processes that go to get us up out of bed, to actually stand up and not fall down. All of the things that have to happen there, or looking out into space and seeing the moon and the stars and the vastness of this is just one universe of multiples. It's just like it's so complex. It's that puts you in me into a state of awe of the
Yeah.
wonder of the design of the immenseness of reality. I mean, I can get there really quick because it's what I bring into my everyday to be in that state of knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was traveling to Australia for work in 2018, 2019, beginning of the year, January. And I'm about to get on the longest flight I could ever imagine. And I was in the airport and I was like, I just need something to read. And I just picked up a pink magazine called Happiness. I'm like flipping through it. It's like it's talked about like happiness for women. It's a women's magazine. I was like, all right, let me dive into this. The entire thing, it was 80 pages. It was like a book, was all about all. It was about that, this person studied happiness and they think awe is the number one like word related to happiness. And that it's not about seeking awe, right? Every day, oh, I climb a mountain, I get to taste the best food in the world, like that. It's about seeing the awe and everything, like you said. Like think about how many motor functions have to happen, right, for you to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Just like little things like that. Like, I mean, even as you start saying the word awe, I'm just like looking here. I have got my laptop here, I got my camera here. There's a wire between them that somehow makes them talk.
Right.
Like I don't know how.
Yeah.
And now because it's there in real time, I'm here on the screen, you're there, but I'm in Patagonia, you're in Utah. Like, and
Yeah.
that's like hardly the start of it. I mean, this is technology. Like, how
Right.
about like our bodies, the
Yeah.
spirits, like, or even I'm looking out at mountains right now, and it was about having a capacity for finding awe in the mundane, I would say.
Well, yeah, on that, I mean, it brings up like a Montessori moment with a little boy, Nicholas. He's pouring a dye into a water and it's swirling. And he's like, look at the porcupine in there. Like this sense of wonderment of the innocence of a child looking at blue dye and water, where if you weren't present, you would have missed it. And like that was the stuff that really helped get my joy and happiness back as a young 20-year-old thinking about going into 5 years of medical school and really getting warped in that process of how do you maintain your joy or happiness with doing really good work. It also brings up an author that I really like. He wrote Small is Beautiful, E.F. Schumacher. He also had a book called Good Work. And thankfully, I found these things early in my life and realized, like, hey, there's a whole pursuit in economics, small is beautiful, and then good work, where he talked about the nature of work. Like, I don't know what's happening culturally right now, but it's like, people don't like to work and they want to make a lot of money. It's like, well, this influencer culture is like, it's decrepit and hollow and empty. And really it is about doing good work. Like there is such a sense of accomplishment and agency in service. I also found that path early on Hanuman is a monkey story out of India, but it's all about service. And thankfully, again, these are the things that influenced a young Greg before I got into medicine, in getting into more subtle energies and understanding of a reality of like, hey, maybe it's not materialistic of the way that we need to look here. So I kind of found early on in my life of, oh, there's something else happening here. And that's proven itself over and over again. So yeah, it has not been all rose-colored glasses and roses on this road of the last 25 years of medicine. I mean, there's been some dark nights of the soul along the way.
Yeah. Very interesting work, because I'll tell you, I'm going through something right now. I'm a mountain guy. I mean, I'm not hiding it well. I have really tested this and talked to the people in my life about this. I can live with not a lot, man. I mean, really. And even like projecting out to like having a family and stuff like that. And, the idea of, I have a business, the idea of like trying to like sell a business and live modestly, not working, is something that's like it's crossed my mind, but it kind of feels more like a temptation than like a good idea. Or like I'm sorry, not, I don't want to judge it with a good idea, a temptation more than like an aligned path. It's kind of more like, I've been running this for maybe 6.5 years, and I actually love it. But, you start to tell people like, oh, do you have an exit plan? And you start to think, all right, could sell and whatever, or sell and then like take some time off and allow like life to figure itself out. And something I'm going through is I'm wondering if I'll like, I don't know if I'm addicted to the work, because I feel like I'm going to lose myself if I get rid of that. Because outside of that, I don't have a family right now. I try to do a lot for other people, but most of that's through work. I out in my personal life, I do live a fairly selfish lifestyle. I chase hobbies and learnings that I hope I can share with people in the world. I write, record podcasts. I have a book, a blog, a podcast. So trying to be a producer in the world, not a consumer. But that the concept of like falling in love with the work, and not like the David Goggins like element of it, where it's like, not falling in love with the grind and the hustle and the stress,
right?
But falling in love with the work, like, we have to do something. Like, if you were a bazillionaire and you were retired and you could just lay on the beach for 10 lifetimes to come, like, what do you still have to do something, like what, everything can be looked at.
Yeah, I'll share, like,
that would definitely be boring.
For the hard parts, I mean, the temptation is like, I'm just going to sell it. I'm going to move to the beach, have a little cabana, drink cervezas. And then what? Like, okay, I'm putting acupuncture needles in a couple people a day to sustain that lifestyle. Like, it was like this exit plan for me through two decades of like, that's what we're going to do. It's like that. I mean, seriously, I would be bored in 2 to 3 days. I mean, I like to say I watch the trees breathe. My kids growing up, they'd be like, what are you doing, Papa? I'm like, sitting out here watching the trees breathe, right? Just trying to get in touch with something real. And, but when you think about it, they're giving us oxygen, we're giving them carbon dioxide, so there is a reciprocal nature there, and it's very 100%. Meditative. So you watch them sway in the wind, and it's kind of fun to watch the trees breathe. So there's that meditative process. I think about the monks, living in Sichuan province, and they're doing good work, right? They're holding ground. They're just being present. I think about doing silent retreats for a month, even 10 days. That's actually coming up for me soon.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah.
Is that booked?
It's not booked, but it is. I think it will happen within the next 18 months. We actually have a friend that is at a 1-month meditation retreat. We've been looking at it for some time now. The calendar is starting to line up for it, and there's no intermingling of the genders. There's no talking. You're meditating every day for 30 days. So, just being with yourself and the monkey mind, and just sitting with it. That piece, I think, to bring stillness, to bring that alignment, to bring that awareness and understanding, I think for me, it resonates. It's appealing because, I'm running a big ship. I got a lot of demands. Things come up a lot as a CEO of a company we have over 50 employees and, global reach, and it's, there's a lot of demands on you. So the appeal, let's exit, let's just do, turn it off for a bit. I see entrepreneurs that do that. I just depends on what the goal is. I come at it from a oneness understanding of we're just pretending to be separate in this reality, right? There's a billion different expressions of the one, which makes it interesting. And it's no one gets out of here alive. And so if we think broader picture of, in a reality sense of, well, there's not really anything to do here. It's already, you can get into, well, is it destined, or, where does free will figure into this?
Oh man, we're getting into the good stuff.
You're sitting up on your chair. Yeah. So those pieces, they come into the day to day for sure, of what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, you use the word oneness. So I pick a word for every year and I revisit it monthly. I have a group that we revisit the word every month and make sure we're all living in our integrity. And my word was oneness.
Oh,
so it's very interesting this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, I want to dive into that, but not to justify or anything, because I haven't done anything, but it's just this temptation that's in my head. But to elaborate on that, the concept, I want to live a maxed out full life, right? In every way possible. And I don't know what that means. And I just know that whatever there is to be or do or experience, I want to try to do that. And part of the reason I've thought the temptations alluring me is to reduce distractions, to try to soak into the thought of, what are we here to do as humans? Mm-hmm. I'm a human being on the earth in 2026. Why? Right? Mm-hmm. What is there to do? How should it be done? And the answer could be nothing, right? That's a great answer. It seems like that's something that you've thought about a little, right? Our purpose, right?
Oh man, yeah. So for sure. I mean, it comes and goes in the contemplation front. Definitely over the last 30 years. So I like to say, I'm in my 5th decade. I'm 55, and I think it just getting better because number one, I have less fucks to give. Because I have more life experience and understanding, at least for me. I'm not comparing myself to others. I don't have anywhere to go. I've got this mission that maybe I, wrote before I got here. I don't know. Maybe there's no purpose of life besides reproduction, right? When you talk to evolutionary biologists,
Yeah.
human or in general species are all about reproducing. Well, why? It comes back to you, like, why do you want to live a maxed out life, right? I mean, I guess it
Yeah.
beats a boring life. So those
Rather
aspects,
rust out than, or rather burn out than rust out, right?
right? The Neil Young tune, right?
Yeah.
Burn out then fade away. So a lot of different components. For what I arrive back to is the heart. In Chinese medicine, there's no word for mind body medicine. It's all about the heart, the empress or emperor. And when you start living in that heart coherent or listening to your emperor or empress, you may be surprised at what kind of answers you get. But the answer honestly lies within. We all kind of get incarnated and arrive and we start looking out because there's so much out there. But I've just been in states where, the architects of this reality were not messing around with eternity of it is forever forward and back. And so it's playing, for me, it's like playing with those concepts of how do you transmit messages through space and time, even though in this reality it's very real. But, we know physics laws, energy can not be created nor destroyed. It just changes form. So that means you have full access to your ancestry, right? Just by questions away. You got to ask the questions, but remembering, asking, doing ancestral work. You have influence on the future as well, but it's always in the ever-present now, this moment, because the past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist. So we only have now, but the now, our bodies age, right, through that time, but it's getting in touch with that sacred, eternal self, or soul, some people call it, that, back to your kind of premise of the show of happiness, having that connection on a daily basis is what brings me happiness. Knowing, just that internal knowing that we are the universe. There is this statement in Chinese medicine, you are the universe is in you. And I thought, okay, well, that's a cute Taoist statement that kind of got passed through the textbooks, but I was at a Joe Dispenza meditation retreat, and I actually woke up as the universe, that spiral and the sound, as you can imagine what space would sound like. And I was like, holy cow, I have this inner knowing at a cellular level that we actually are the universe. Like, this isn't just some cutesy saying. And it's like, how did the ancients get that wisdom and then also transmit it through time? Because there's a lot of things that never withstand the test of time. And so it's that aspect of remembering and, brings up a lot of other questions for me, but it's that inner knowing and being connected to source for me that brings me immense energy and intensity and happiness.
I can tell you my happiest point today is this conversation, man. I mean, first of all, I see you as someone who has done the really hard stuff, like aligning with their heart, right? It's not tangible. Well, I mean, it's tangible, but it's not like something you see, hear, taste, touch, right? It's, like you said, like, oh, I know I'm the universe, right? Like you just know it. And if you don't know it, it's going to be hard to relate to that comment. And there's no guide or thing you can do. Like, to tell someone how to do it, it's like, just do it, right? And I've had some of those moments, and you literally have to just follow your intuition. If you don't have a clear intuition, you need to sit and let the monkey mind go away and like inputs go away and just, until you have a clear, intuition. Because I agree with something that I mean, we could do a whole other podcast on is that, the way you basically said what you do, like at your practice was you're like, basically like heal people through, energetic work, but I'm putting it in a package so they believe it. You know what I mean? It's like they have to at least believe it. And a lot of people aren't open to it. And that's really where your true greatness comes in, Dr. Greg, because if you were so egotistical that you were like, hey, actually, like, no, it is energy work, and you're trying to like force that down their throat, that's not going to get the best result. Like, even if you're doing stuff that they think is woo woo, package it in a way that they think it's some, like structured program similar to the Mayo Clinic and all the other stuff that they're comfortable with.
Right.
But it's the sense of intuition that you have that comes from deep practice that I see and hear you for. And it was funny. Have you ever been into like long endurance events yourself?
I was a cross country runner in high school, but that wasn't really like ultra marathon or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The mind plays. So I do ultra marathons, and the mind plays tricks on you. I mean, crazy tricks. So I was in Salt Lake City. My good buddy goes and runs 100-miler. He calls me. I didn't know about ultras. Calls me 6 weeks before. Hey, Sean, will you pace me? Yeah, man. He's like, we're going to go so slow. I need you for like the first half of this race. I was like, how far is the race? He's like 100 miles. I was like, 50 miles. And then he's like, dude, we're like walking. He's like, we could just like walk or run forever. It's like, all right. So anyways, it's 30 degrees, howling wind. It's like rain, sleeting. And I pick him up in the middle of the night. It's so cold. It's miserable. And we start with this big climb. And like 7 hours in, I swear I have a broken right foot. Okay.
Cool.
I mean, I played football my whole life. I played basketball. I am not a hypochondriac. I feel confident saying I'm a pretty physically tough dude. Yeah. I mean, and at the same time, he's hallucinating, dry heaving. There's no service. No one's around. And I quit on him. We come to an aid station. I said, dude, I cannot take another step. Like, my foot is broken. And I see him wandering off. And I'm like, I just like freaking killed my buddy. You're just going to I go straight to the ER in the morning. I sleep, make sure he finishes the race, go straight to the ER. They're like, you're good. 3 days later, I set my personal best record on my 5K. So clearly, like, my intuition wasn't there. Like, there was too much noise. Fast forward like 18 months, I'm standing at the starting line of my own 100-miler. And my dad, right before me, he goes, Sean, give it everything you got, push through pain. But if you're injured, I need you to stop, you know? And he's like, you only have one body, man. And I looked at him and I said, I can't do that. He said, why? I said, because I don't have that level of intuition, right? Like, I know I don't. I've proven I don't. Like, my foot, it's not like right when my foot hurt, I went to the ER. My foot hurt for 4 hours and I was like, it'll get better. Positive thinking, it'll get better. So I say that because, like, when I saw the conviction, like, in your face, like when you said, like, I know I'm part of the universe, like intuition like that, it comes from like deep, hard, quiet practice, and a long way of saying that I really appreciate that you've done that work and can share that with me and other people, man. It's really cool.
Level of conviction. I mean, I would like kind of meditating for 30 years, never had that experience, thinking like, okay, either I'm not doing this right or maybe it doesn't exist, but I kind of stumbled into it. It was just like 2 to 3 years ago to have that inner knowing. And it's kind of what I've been asking for since I was a teenager. So that, thank you. And this isn't like, there isn't a recipe like you're saying. It's just, it's your path to get there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I think you just have to be curious and want it, right? I guess that's part of it. I want to be conscious of time here, but I do want to ask you, when do you, not what do you do, but when do you struggle with like your inner peace, happiness? Like what's going on?
I think if there's a lot of conflict, things aren't flowing, feels like things get more grindy. I start to, get short fused, irritable. It's always I try to really nip that stuff in the bud before it gets to a heightened pace. But it happens. I like to say I'm a mud person and I'm a human being. And, there's a lot of learning in this planet, in this reality and incarnation. So, it'll come up, whether in a relationship, with employees, with patients. I mean, you get challenged every day on, well, what's your response going to be? What's your responsibility in this interaction? If we're in a oneness scenario, where did the imbalance come up within you to create this external or outward sign of it coming back to you? And knowing, it is an inside job. So really utilizing and having that awareness and doing the work around it of, taking responsibility for your actions and knowing you have a choice in every moment in time. What I tell our patients here is I'll never take your suffering away from you. Only you can do that. And they look at me like, I want to punch you in the face, Dr. Greg. But it is, it's true. No one can make you feel a certain way. And no one can take your choice from you. You always have a choice in the matter. So you always get to choose. Do you want to suffer? I suffer with the best of them. I can wallow in it. I'm really good suffering, Sean. I can suffer really, really well. Yeah.
It's so funny. You know Dr. Zach Bush? No.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know him personally. Yeah.
Yeah. He has something that stuck in my mind where he thinks the biggest issue with healthcare is I'm gonna confuse it. Compassion or empathy. Which one, compassion or one of them is you entering their energetic state, meaning if they're suffering, if they're scared to die, you as the healthcare provider are scared to die. The other one, I think that's compassion. And then empathy is if they're scared to die, you recognize that they're scared to die, but you're not over here. You have a different energetic. And I, again, might have flipped those two, but I find that that's one of the most powerful ways to stop an energetic chain of events, where it's because if your patient's just sitting there scared and you're scared as shit too, that's just, you guys are just brewing a scared broth that's going to manifest into, whatever you are scared of, and, I guess hearing your approach that where you're you are separating it, right? You're saying I'm not going to take your suffering away. You're setting that wall where it's you're going to be suffering, you need to work on it. It's not if you,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll acknowledge and see them and have the presence with them, but they've got to understand, I'm not going to go into victimhood together. And it is this piece of, it's not separation. It's, meeting the world. If we are running energy in our bodies the way that I think is important, especially running a big healing center that has the heart at the center of it, I've got to be at the top of my game. I've got to have a lot of energy to help folks be a model to overcome their own epic hero's journey, right? Which is when you are in a disease state or have symptoms, it's your hero's journey, whether you want it or not. And so again, you can suffer with it, and or you can choose to get curious about, well, what kind of options do I have here? So many people will cling to the known. They stay in the gilded cage. It's I know this cage and I feel safe here, but I have all these symptoms. Or you can step out into the unknown, a realm of possibilities that, give you much more options and directions to go and try. And I'm not saying it's easy or all disease is in your mind. There's a lot of different.
No, but it has a component to it.
Yeah, it has. And so having that ability to meet the world out in an expansive nature of the way that the universe is expanding and aligning your energy with universal energy, then it doesn't get stuck on you. Like there's no way for me to be in an expansive mode running on, we're going for the Roger Bannister 4-minute mile moment for neuroregeneration. Like the stuff that our patients are reporting and what we're showing on imaging isn't supposed to happen. It's physically impossible, right? Once your neurons die in your brain, they're not supposed to regrow. Well, we're getting people with no symptoms. They're off of their drugs. They don't have the disease anymore. Well, how is that? You can't do that in Newtonian physics realm, but you can do that in a quantum understanding of reality. And so aligning, I'm just asking for more curiosity of like, well, what is going on here? Because we're showing, and I bring up Roger Bannister because he was the guy in 1954 that it was physically deemed impossible for a human to run.
Yeah. And then he broke it and broke through. Man.
Yeah. He also was a medical student when he did that. He became a neurologist and developed Parkinson's. So I want 2026 to be the year that in honor of Roger Bannister and his Parkinson's that we've found a cure.
From your mouth to God's ear, man. I'm honored to be on your team and try to help you do this. I mean, you're part of my reason I get up every day. And, like my clients, I feel like that's my full expression of the world is to help these people get their message out, man. And it's cool to see what you're doing. And, you're doing good work, Dr. Greg.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
I think you know that, but I hope you feel that. And maybe we'll have to see each other at a 10-day silent retreat. We could just wave to each other.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you so much for making the time. I know you got a big company you're running and a lot and a family and all that. So very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.
Hug.
Yeah. Hugs on that right side. It's sometimes awkward to hug that way, but it is really much more rewarding.
Yeah. The hard things always are.